Hi everyone, this is Rob Roy and welcome to the Elliott Wave Options U.S. Market Update. I'm popping in again because tomorrow promises to be a very important day in the markets. On Tuesday we had the ISM Manufacturers Report, which showed that manufacturing activity had contracted all the way back down to levels last seen in 2009, and that sent shockwaves through the market for obvious reasons. Well, tomorrow morning we get the ISM non-manufacturing report, sometimes called services. It has a lot of components to it, but the four primary ones that people look at are business activity, new orders, inventories, and prices paid. So basically what the people are looking at is what's the inventory build. It does give a really good view of business activity, economic conditions, and a read on the consumer. So if the consumer is not spending, inventories tend to go up. And if inventories are going up, then prices have to come down so that people will buy stuff. There are incentives for the consumer to buy. Well, if prices are coming down, what's happening to profits? Profit margins are getting squeezed, right? So a lot of eyes are going to be looking at that report. It comes out at 10 a.m. Eastern time in the morning. So let's take a look at the charts and I'll give you an idea of how things could shake out depending on what that number shows. All right, here's the chart of the S&P 500. And as you can see, we had a gap down in today's trade. We get gaps in the SPY. That's not all that unusual. And as you know from our conversations on gaps get filled. There's no rhyme or reason as to exactly when they're going to get filled, but gaps do get filled. So how quickly will this one get filled? Or is this going to be a breakaway gap and we're going to head lower for quite a while before that gap comes back and gets filled? The two primary gaps to look for are exhaustion gaps, meaning that a trend has run its course, or a breakaway gap, meaning that we're starting a new trending direction and it kind of gets things off to the races, if you will. So let's talk a little bit about how that ISM non-manufacturing report could affect the markets tomorrow. If the number comes in and it's bad, it could be Katie bar the door to the downside. So this could represent a breakaway gap and off we go to the downside. And based on our Elliott wave pattern, the first stop would be right here at the previous 4. And if that doesn't hold, then we're going back down here to retrace the entire 5-wave impulse that had recently possibly completed there in the middle of September. Now, if the number comes out good, then fears will calm down a bit and we will likely get a bounce, because if we look at the 10-day moving average, we are oversold. Now, markets can stay overbought or oversold for short periods of time, not long periods of time, but short periods of time. And right now we are a bit oversold based on the 10-day moving average. So we can come back up and fill that gap if the number's okay. But here's another scenario. What if the number is bad and the market starts selling off and we get really, really oversold? And then maybe the Federal Reserve has an emergency meeting. That's happened in the past where they decide, hey, either they're going to go ahead and announce the rate cut that most people think is coming at the October meeting anyway, or they could decide to do a full-fledged quantitative easing. We've already told you about what's going on behind the scenes in the financial markets, and so this should be some skittishness in the Federal Reserve right now, I would think. There certainly is on those in the know on Wall Street. So it could be anything could happen tomorrow as far as how things play out. But if the number's bad and we don't hear anything from the Federal Reserve, yeah, this could prove to be a breakaway gap and we could be heading to the downside. Let's hope for those that are long the market that the number comes in okay, that we get a rebound, we close this gap, and then we see what happens from there. Or maybe the Federal Reserve comes to the rescue. But one way or the other, fasten your seatbelts, because Thursday could be a very wild ride. Take care, everybody.